Welcome back to Fight Capital, where we step into the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rappaport. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Jacob Lee. He is an avid UFC enthusiast who recently lived every fight fan's dream by winning the Timex UFC 296 Ultimate Fan Experience. His unforgettable weekend include behind-the-scenes tours, exclusive events, and rubbing elbows with UFC legends, encapsulating a once-in-a-lifetime adventure in the heart of Las Vegas. Thanks for being here tonight, Jacob. How are you and where are you joining from?
Doing good, man. Thank you. I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Can you start by telling me a little bit just how you felt when you first learned that you won that, and what were you most excited about?
Well, people play the lottery. People sign up for drawings, but who actually believes that they're actually going to win one of these things? I mean, it's the craziest thing that's ever happened, really, in my life. Just something so out of the blue, and it being the UFC experience. I mean, if I had to pick anything in my life to win, it would be a fan experience with the UFC, and it happened.
Well, I mean, I could go through all the list of things, but we'd be here for like 5 minutes. One of the things I thought was really cool, though, is you actually got to tour the UFC Performance Institute, and they got the one in Las Vegas, they got one in China, they're opening up one in Mexico, they got them happening all over the world. It's obviously, arguably, from what I've heard, I actually haven't been, but it's one of the most state-of-the-art institutes facilities in the world. What impressed you the most about doing that private tour, and were there any particular technologies or training methodologies that you saw there that you thought were cool?
I think in regards to that, what really impressed me the most was they had this little training room that was for a high altitude training. I guess they have some kind of mask with lower oxygen levels. And so they're essentially training at higher altitudes while they're in Vegas. And what was so surreal about that moment, a tour guide per se was sharing a quote of Islam Makhachev above the room that I'm referring to. And Islam Makhachev walks out of the room, and I just instinctively just say, I'm such a huge fan. It's an honor to meet you. And I shake Islam Makhachev's hand, and unforgettable. So yeah, that was probably the coolest moment in the Performance Institute.
Well, I know that you and the other people in the group, you had the opportunity to participate in a Q&A with UFC Legends and Duncan French, who heads up the Performance Institute and in his right as a legend as well. Were there any standout moments or advice they offered that resonated with you when you were talking with them?
Yeah, Duncan French, I never, as a UFC fan for the past 15 years, I didn't know who he was or what he had done and how he had contributed to the company. And having a front row seat to basically someone that seemed as integral as Dana White in the company, asking questions, him telling us his entire biography. It was an honor to be so close and to be able to just talk to him. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's one of those behind the scene guys that if you're kind of in the mix of the UFC and the sport, he's not the one that kind of gets obviously all the play. But if you're an athlete, you know who he is because he designed. That's the PI's his baby, right? And
Right.
what that does for the athletes and their teams and the facilities that it gives people. I mean, a lot of the guys, I'm sure you've seen the fights and the pre and post fight interviews where they're I was training at the Performance Institute and thank God for the people there and all of that. So I'm cool that we're giving exposure to him and like everything they're doing there. I know another thing is you got to go to the weigh-ins. What was that like? I mean, those are pretty unique experience. I mean, just the crowd and the atmosphere. Was it different than watching it on TV?
Well, so I kind of want to go back to the Performance Institute for one more point. As we were waiting for our hosts, her name was Marcella Moraes,
Oh yeah,
and
Marcella's great. She's amazing.
waiting for Garrett and his cameraman at the time. Me and my fiance were waiting, and as we sat there for about 30 minutes, there was about 10 top 10 UFC fighters that walk in the lobby of the Performance Institute. Little did I know, Garrett's with the other Timex winners on the other side of the building, and I'm sitting here with my fiance, and Alex Volkanovski walks in with Craig Jones, one of arguably the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner on the planet, Jamal Hill, and Brendan Allen, and Brandon Marino, and Magomed Ankalaev. I mean, I'm sitting here, and they're right next to me. And having watched these these fights for so many years, and seeing them in person, to me, it wasn't. It's not like meeting a celebrity, because a celebrity, but as you know, that has its own thing. But meeting someone who is the best in their field, the Volkanovski, the featherweight goat, arguably, meeting these people in person, like they're real people. I mean, I know surreal sounds cheesy, but I mean, I don't know what other word to say.
No, man, it's not cheesy, and it's something that I talk about a lot, and I think you probably are experiencing that firsthand. Is how just the cool thing about the athletes in combat sports is they're just authentic people. You
Right.
really just kind of have to be. You're kind of not outside of yourself. There's a lot of humility. There's a lot in behind the scenes, more so because people got to put on a show to sell the pay-per-views and the tickets,
Right.
of course. But in the end, a lot of these guys are humble, nice guys, well balanced, and you're experiencing that real time. They're probably on death's door, getting ready for weigh-ins, but that's pretty cool that you got to be there and just seeing them, right? Because you even just getting to say hi or talk to them real quick. I mean, I think surreal is a good one, man, because not like you said, not many other people get to experience that. And I gotta say, Timex, when we were putting this together with them, they knew they were putting together something cool, and I know they hooked you up. What was that gift box they gave you? How'd you feel about the watch and the memento from the experience?
It was so exciting. They told me that there was going to be a producer and a cameraman with us, and just to be prepared. But starting off the whole weekend with a producer and a cameraman, having me recite lines and posing for the camera and doing different things. Who gets to is thrown into that and gets to experience those things as a normal dude? It was so exciting and so cool. But yeah, the Timex box, we had we got 2 watches apiece, me and my fiance and the other winners, and all this swag, and so yeah, it was really cool. And the watch I wear every day now, of course, because it reminds me of the whole experience, and it's just a really cool fucking watch.
You got the one with like the gold trim and like the champion one,
Right.
the big face one, right? I think I saw.
And
Yeah,
then
those are cool, man. I'm just curious because you obviously all of the stuff outside of the event, but you actually were at 296. Was there a fight or moment that stood out to you from those seats?
Okay, well, so I've been to a UFC 271, Adesanya and Whitaker. I was in the nosebleeds, which, regardless, was an incredible experience. And but here we were much closer. And before the fights even started, I meet Chuck Liddell. I mean, uh, is crazy. And the probably thing I remember most, and that was the most exciting, is when Sean Strickland, basically attacked Dricus du Plessis in the audience. Now, I'm not a social media guy, really, but I filmed it, and I posted it to Instagram, and I immediately had 5,000 views on it, which, I mean, for me, for someone who doesn't post anything, that's a lot of people. But yeah, so that was a pretty cool moment to experience. Obviously, the fights were a lot of the fights were great. The main event, it's everyone has their opinion on that UFC 296 main event, but I mean, just to get to experience it so close, it's something I'll never forget.
Well, the fact that you've been at one before that too, I'm sure helped lessen the blow just a tiny bit, because anyone who's never been to a UFC event, I was at was it 287? Yeah, 287 with Adesanya and Pereira, and I was there with in Miami, and that was just a star-studded event. And I was there with my friend who, I don't know if you'd ever watched a UFC event before. We had these awesome seats, and I was just like, at the end, we were both hoarse and sweaty and tired, and I was, you get it? And he goes, I have to go to every one now. And I was like, I know. I'm all about it, man. But the other thing too, just the end of the night for you, where you had the post fight Octagon tour, you had the after party at Zook, and after those fights, you got that private tour and the VIP access where you're hanging out with Bruce Buffer and Sean O'Malley. What was that like, stepping into the Octagon, and how'd the after party go at Zook?
So when I've been referring to this producer and cameraman, and the producer is Garrett. Could you pronounce his last name for me?
Marchesano.
Thank you very much, Garrett Marchesano. He really made he was one of, if not the most integral part of the experience. I mean, for me and my fiance, I felt like we, became friends on this weekend, and he had mentioned working with Bruce Buffer and some other UFC fighters, and I didn't think much of it, and we had this Zook after party to go to, so we me and my fiance meet up with Garrett and go into this after party, and we were about to leave because we're kind of in the back and not much is going on. I see Sean O'Malley on the stage from a distance, and that was amazing. But before I know it, Garrett's calling with Bruce Buffer, calling me up onto the stage, and we're in a booth on stage at this club in Las Vegas with Bruce Buffer with bottle service. And how, as a normal 9 to 5 working dude, sitting here with Sean O'Malley partying at a club after the fights in Las Vegas. It was truly an experience that I will cherish and take with me the rest of my life. And I encourage anyone to, for giveaways, as crazy as that sounds, do it, because apparently people think that they'll never win, but people actually win. And I feel like, you have people that win millions of dollars in the lottery. To me, this was winning millions of dollars. Like, I would have chosen this experience over a $10 million prize. I mean, I really would. I mean, it was something that has affected me and that I will cherish the rest of my life. So.
Well, man, I know you're going to be making a lot of behind the scenes people happy for them hearing that, because that's in the end, right? Like, was the ultimate fan experience. And, kudos to the UFC and Timex and Combat Sports Group and everyone else who was, putting in the hard work to make that happen, because it's not an easy thing to execute as well. I can tell you, kind of seeing it. So I'm glad that it was everything and more that you could have dreamed of. And I guess just wrapping up here, those reflections and any advice, like you said, for future contestants, looking back on the whole thing, what would you say was the highlight of that whole Ultimate Fan experience for you?
The highlight, I think, it's as crazy as it sounds. Garrett, getting to know Garrett and what he does behind the scenes, is just, it blows me away. What he's done with creating commercials for the company, him winning the experience before me, but he actually created content to win, put in my information to win. So there's no comparison, but I almost feel like since he won, he almost he was giving me what he experienced, which was, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, but that was a really important part. But aside from that, obviously meeting Alex Volkanovski, Islam Makhachev, sitting with with Sean O'Malley, I'm literally side by side with the champions of the world. And how many people get to say that?
Very, very, very few, man. And I just looking at your Instagram, I know you are a huge fan, and I think just having this conversation speaks to that. And once again, man, congratulations. I'm glad you got to make the most of it. Who knows what that is even going to mean for you too as well. You'd be surprised how these type of things are so life changing that sometimes it just kind of reverberates through the rest of your life. And I hope that's the case for you.
And I feel the same way. You miss every opportunity you don't take. And even with this podcast, I would have never imagined I'd ever be on a podcast. And so all of this has been so amazing, and I'm so grateful to Timex, the UFC, you, Garrett. Y'all are all amazing, and I can't thank y'all.
Well, man, you crushed it. I'm glad it was such a great weekend, and I'll make sure this gets out and everyone sees it, and they'll get all those thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you have a great night.
You too.